just because one item in the medical checkup was abnormal. My boyfriend of 5 years immediately proposed a breakup. Blinded by love, I refused to end the relationship. I even promised zero dowry and an additional 300 yuan in dowry, and only then did he reluctantly agree to marry me. I thought I was running toward love, but what awaited me was emotional abuse, verbal torment, and even infidelity. I make noise. I go crazy. He said you were cheap to begin with. I gave you the chance to marry me, and you should be grateful. I exposed his affair to the company, and he lost his job and reputation. His mother, to vent his anger, drugged and killed me. The mother, who should have been locked up for 20 years, was saved by his letter of forgiveness. When I opened my eyes again, I was back. On the day the medical exam results came out, looking at the just received medical report, my health was excellent except for one anomaly. I realized that if it hadn't been for my colleague's kind reminder before the exam to add this particular test, things might have been different. I might not have noticed yet. A feeling of relief welled up in my heart. Turning my head, I saw my boyfriend Finley enveloped in swirling smoke beside me. Instinctively, I wanted to share, but just as I was about to hand over the phone, I suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. A suffocating sense of oppression washed over me. Only then did I realize I had been reborn. In my past life, my innocent sharing became the reason Finley broke up with me. He even dumped me right in front of all our friends. He said, "No one in my family or among my friends has an infectious disease like helicobacter. Don't come and bring us bad luck. This disease is transmitted through oral contact. Who knows how you got infected?" And my mom said the most basic requirement for our family's daughter-in-law is good health. After 5 years together, we were already at the stage of discussing marriage, and I don't want it to end like this. I also thought that perhaps he was unhappy with the yuan bride price my father proposed, which led to him breaking up with me. So I explained to him that my parents just wanted to see his family's attitude. Moreover, my parents secretly told me that as long as his family agreed, our family would give 3 times the dowry. Only then did he agree. My best friend called me foolish. My parents said I was stupid. Only I was full of joy as I got married, thinking I was running towards love. Yet what greeted me was endless suffering. After marriage, I lived with Finley's family, but because of my Helicobacter pylori infection, they never allowed me to eat at the table with them. Even my bowls and chopsticks were kept separate, and as per my mother-in-law's request, they had to be disinfected daily. At night, Finley wouldn't even kiss me. I could endure all of this, thinking that as long as I kept the Helicobacter pylori under control, they would eventually accept me. But my tolerance didn't earn me any respect from his family. Instead, it made them escalate their behavior. In the end, Finley even cheated on me. Because of this, I threw a tantrum. I went crazy and even got Finley fired from his job. Finley couldn't take it and persuaded his mother to drug my food. Zhang Zhuang was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but not long after, Finley issued a letter of forgiveness in the name of the victim's family. My parents were furious and confronted them about it. Zhang Zhuan couldn't bear to see her son suffer, so she slashed my parents over 20 times with a knife. After the incident, she calmly finished her meal before turning herself in, accompanied by Finley. In the end, she was declared mentally ill and escaped legal punishment. Staring at the murderer before me, I hesitated for a moment before handing over the report in my hand. Sure enough, Finley just glanced at it for a few seconds and said the same words as in the previous life, except this time I didn't beg him tearfully not to break up like I did before. Instead, I leisurely took my phone back from his hand and said, I
agree.
Perfect timing. Pack your things and get out. Turn around, walk to the door, open it, and gesture with a please, addressing Finley's friends. Say, since I've broken up with this beast, please go back where you came from. Finley never expected this reaction from me. His face instantly darkened. What? Did I say something wrong? Otherwise, how did you catch this disease? I didn't want to waste words on an idiot, so I shot back, if you're not cleaning up, do you want me to do it for you? Finley snorted coldly and sat back down on the sofa. I urged him to hurry up. Finley's devoted follower Rusong couldn't stand it anymore and suddenly pushed me. Is this how you treat your boyfriend? Your future husband? I turned my head and glared at her coldly. I hadn't even picked a fight with her yet. She came looking for trouble in my past life. It was her who spread rumors that I cheated on Finley after my death. She says everywhere. Back in school, she was already flirting around, changing boyfriends 4 or 5 times a semester. After graduation, it got even worse. She'd go with anyone who beckoned. How else would she have gotten that kind of disease? Even after marrying Finn, she hasn't shown the slightest restraint. It's only because Finn is generous. If I were him, I'd have left her long ago. Her parents got what they deserved. Small-town farmers who initially wanted to sell their daughter and leech off Finn. If not for Finn's cleverness, I bet their family would have been drained dry long ago. Many people believed her words and chimed in saying our whole family deserved to die, clapping and cheering. Even worse, our entire family was nailed to the pillar of shame on gender issues, constantly dragged out for public scrutiny and judgment. At this thought, my heart feels as if it's being scorched over flames. In this second life, since Ruang has a crush on Finley, you two better stay locked together. Seeing that Finley still remains unmoved, I turned around and walked straight into the room, throwing all of Finley's belongings out. Finley is someone who values face above all else deep down. So even with all this commotion from me, he remains indifferent, just standing there with a very aggrieved expression. Seeing the person he secretly likes in such a state, Ruang felt too embarrassed to speak up, but stepped forward once again to uphold justice. What kind of girlfriend are you? Driving your boyfriend away just because of a fight? Back in my hometown, a woman like you would have been beaten long ago. You won't behave without a beating. I diverted the trouble eastward, turning to Ron's boyfriend and saying, you heard it. Your girlfriend said it herself. Next time you argue, just hit her without holding back. Ruang yelled. What nonsense are you spouting? I retorted. Didn't you say it? Finley finally found an opening at this moment and stepped forward to defend Rusong, saying, why are you acting like a shrew? Can't you be reasonable? This is between the two of us. Why drag others into it? Every time we argue, he loves to label me as a shrew, as if he's the one with all the reason. I rolled my eyes and sneered. Right. You're the mother of reason. How could I ever match your logic? Then he added, finish talking. Get lost. Finley couldn't win the argument with me, so he started playing dead again. Ron quickly stepped in. If anyone should leave, it's you. This apartment is rented by Finn and you're living off Finn too. Only Finn is kind enough not to hold it against you. I let out a cold laugh and asked, Finley with a smile, is this how you talk about me to your friends? Finley glared at me, clearly threatening me, signaling me to stop talking. He probably also feared that if I continued, he would lose face. I completely ignored his threat and went on. Since we have time now, why don't we tally the bills? Let's see who actually paid the rent, you or me. As for you saying you supported me, let's tally those bills too. Enough. Finley interrupted me, Tez sign. When will you ever grow up? Seeing that I remained firm in my stance, he then generously conceded. Fine. Considering you went through the trouble of preparing this whole table of food today, I won't bother arguing with you. With that, he gestured for his friends to take their seats. I was instantly speechless. How could he still shamelessly sit down at the table to eat after all this mess? Watching him actually about to sit down, I walked straight up and yanked the tablecloth, hearing the sound of dishes shattering. This time, Finley finally lost his temper and shouted at me, Tasuchin, what the hell are you doing? You got sick because of your own recklessness. I'm risking my life to stay with you, and you're still making a scene. I've truly seen it all. Justin, 80 plus Helicobacter pylori reading from a checkup and is willing to risk his life for it. Does that mean half the people in the country shouldn't even be alive? What kind of fake human is this? Ruang chimed in right after. Exactly. Someone as good as Finn is willing to stay with you despite your contagious disease, and you don't even appreciate it. Do you know how many women out there are chasing after him? Where did these weirdos come from? I actually ran into 2 of them in one day. Are you some dropout who slipped through 9 years of compulsory education? If you don't know about Helicobacter pylori, why don't you go ask at a hospital? Also, since you think he's such a catch, I'll give him to you now. You must take him. Don't let him go out and cause trouble for others. Speaking of which, you must have had a crush on him for 7 or 8 years, right? What's the matter? He didn't want you. Rang, flushed with anger, instinctively glanced at her boyfriend before denying. What nonsense are you talking? I had no intention of indulging her and spilled everything I knew. That scarf Finley wore last winter. You were the one who knitted it, weren't you? And you always wash his personal clothes every time you go on business trips together, don't you? Not just that, there are plenty of behind-the-scenes stories about you two at the company. Look at all you've done. Yet Finley still isn't with you. Do you know why? Because you're only good enough to be AS. After I finished speaking, Ron's boyfriend's face turned pale, then green, then blue. What a spectacle. I couldn't bear to listen any longer and said to Ron, we're not right for each other. Let's break up. Then I just walked away. I couldn't help but laugh. Talk about going for wool and coming home. Shaw, from what I understand, Raozong's boyfriend was introduced by her family. Average looking, but comes from a very well-off family. She had always thought that with Finley, she probably didn't stand a chance. On top of that, Finley's parents were from modest backgrounds with average salaries, not exactly ideal marriage material. So she agreed to date this other guy. Seeing this, Raozong wanted to chase after her, but was pulled by me to Finley Lee's side. Now it's settled. There are no more obstacles between the two of you. Finley was also straightforward immediately, pulling Ru Song into his embrace. Don't you regret it, he said, taking the cue. Ruang added, exactly. Don't you regret it? If you don't cherish her, someone else will. The two of them walked out, arm in arm. Finley saw his scattered clothes and then thought of his gaming gear at home. He was just about to come in and move them, but when he turned his head, he saw me standing nearby with a baseball bat. You're such a prideful person after a breakup. You definitely wouldn't keep things your ex-girlfriend gave you.
Right.
Finley's hand paused, and he stood frozen in place, utterly conflicted. At that moment, Raozong added thoughtfully, Finn, these things aren't worth much. I'll buy them for
you.
Don't worry, I won't be like her. If I love someone, I'll give my all, without the slightest hesitation or calculation. Finley glanced at her with some distrust but still followed Russ' song, watching them walk away, arm in arm. I sincerely wish them happiness. May the toad find its match in the dog, and may they last forever.
A
friend's birthday. Unaware that Finley and I have broken up. I was invited, and so was Finley. Finley came with her song. I didn't really care. Maintaining an attitude of don't provoke me, and I won't provoke you. Sitting in the corner of the KTV eating braised snacks. Tessican. It's been so many days. You should have calmed down by now. Seeing that I ignored her, he directly took the braised dish in front of me and handed it to Raozong. He growled in a low voice. Tessican, I'm talking to you.
Are you
deaf? I sat up straight angrily, glaring at him with a dark expression, mistaking my reaction for fear. He softened his tone and said, Don't blame me.
That
day you made me lose face. These past few days I've also thought about it.
I
do have my issues, but your problems are even bigger. 5 years of relationship, and you just decided to throw it away like it's nothing. All these days I've been trying to convince my mom every single day. I finally talked her around. She agrees to our marriage as long as your parents don't ask for a bride
price.
Again, that condescending tone.
I
raised my voice, Finley. Your girlfriend is right beside you. Isn't it inappropriate for you to be discussing marriage with your ex, although somewhat drowned out by the singing? The people nearby must have heard it. They all turned their heads, looking at me with
surprise.
Ron glanced at Finley and then said, Tessa, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I steal your boyfriend? Finn said he was just trying
to provoke you that day. She leaned in
to say this, her voice very quiet, as if afraid others might hear. At this moment, what I want most is still my
dignity.
A friend then came up to me and asked if I had misunderstood something. Seeing that everyone was gathered today, I simply stood up and announced on the
spot.
Since all my friends are here, today I want to announce that Finley and I have broken up. Also, on the day of the breakup, Rome took over again. Everyone, when joking around or treating others to gifts in the future, make sure you don't get the wrong person. After saying this, ignoring Finley's increasingly dark expression, she sat down directly, took back the braised dish that Finley had just taken away, and continued eating. A friend stepped forward to speak up for me. What's going on, Finley? Did you cheat? Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? And who is this, our song? Where did she come from? Why is she at our gathering?
And now
she's stealing our friend's partner. The close friend who originally introduced me to Finley held me tightly, her heart aching for me. I gently touched her face to reassure her that I was
okay.
Rang's face instantly turned red upon hearing their words, but she still braced herself and said, That's not true at all. It was Tessin who got infected with a contagious disease, and that's why Finn broke up with her.
My
best friend quickly asked me with concern what had happened. I patted her hand and said, "It's nothing, just." Helico back to pyre. Only then did her best friend feel relieved. The others burst into laughter, nearly falling over. First time hearing someone break up over Helico back to pillory. Rousing. Hadn't expected this reaction from everyone and was instantly overwhelmed with embarrassment. Finley felt too ashamed to stay any longer. He pulled wrong and left immediately. My best friend hugged me and comforted me.
It's
all my fault. If it weren't for my birthday 5 years ago, you two wouldn't
have met and none of this would have
happened. She didn't continue, only adding, "Don't worry, I'll help you get revenge." I truly never thought of asking her to avenge me. After all, I figured that best friends and Finley would inevitably cross paths often, but I
didn't expect that.
The very next day, my best friend directly informed me that she had already spoken to her parents and fired Finley's mother from working at their hot pot restaurant. I initially wanted to say it wasn't necessary, but then I thought since Zhang Juang is such a dangerous person, it's better for them to stay away sooner rather than later. After all, in my past life, Zhang Juang, seeking revenge against my best friend, who always stood up for me, actually put laxatives in her parents' hot pot restaurant. With this matter resolved, my best friend took me shopping at the mall near their home. He said he'd buy me a bag to cure my heartache. Little did I expect to run into Zhang Juang and Ru Song here. The moment Zhang Juang saw me, her face twisted with displeasure. She glared at me as if her eyes alone could kill me.
Seeing that I intended to
ignore her, she still wouldn't back
down.
Then, right in front of me, she took Rong's hand and showered her with praise. Some people coming from the countryside just have no manners, not like our dear Song, who treats elders with respect, obedient and well-behaved, would never babble on about money. Money. In this day and age, only country folks still ask for bride prices. We city people would never dream of selling our daughters. My best friend couldn't hold back anymore. If she's so great, just let your son stay with her forever. Why come here seeking attention from us? I pulled her aside, afraid she might start a fight with Zhang Juang. Right then and there, Zhang Juang wasn't about to back down either. A country bumpkin like you just hopes to marry a city guy like my son who owns a house and a car, thinking you can climb the social ladder, but you don't realize you're destined to stay poor at heart. You want money, well, we won't give you a cent. Then turning to our Song, she added, "You're so much better than her. Don't worry, as long as you treat my son well. The house and cars will all be yours and Finn's in the future." Instead of getting angry, I smiled and said, "She's that good. Then surely she wouldn't leave this mall without buying gifts for you too."
Right.
Ron's smile froze instantly upon hearing my words. Meanwhile, Zhang Juang, beside her, looked at her with eager anticipation. I continued, "There's a branded shoe and bag shop ahead, and the prices aren't too high. Just a few thousand yuan for a pair of shoes. Surely, as a city girl, Miss Song wouldn't be reluctant to spend that
much."
Ron quickly responded,
"I've
already prepared other gifts for Uncle and Aunt." I smiled with ill intent and said, "How could one ever have too many gifts?" Right upon hearing this,
Zhang
Juang's eyes sparkled even brighter. She seemed quite satisfied with my words. Seeing the atmosphere was about right, I added, "Surely you wouldn't stoop to the level of a country bumpkin like me." "How could I be the same as you?" Ruang instinctively retorted.
Zhang
Juang was instantly so delighted that her eyes nearly stretched to her
hairline.
As if afraid Ruang might change her mind, she quickly pulled Ruang inside to shop after they left.
I
asked my best friend, and only then found
out.
During this period, Rusong took the initiative to go to Fin Lee's house every day to help with chores.
She even
Voluntarily gave Zhang Zhuang household money. Fortunately, my best friend lives in the same neighborhood as Zhang Zhuang. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known they had already progressed to this stage. After shopping, we spotted Zhang Zhuang and Ru Song from a distance again. Both of them were carrying quite a few
things.
Zhang Zhuang kept looking at the spoils in her hands as she walked, feeling overjoyed. Following behind, Rao Zong, however, was miserable. Ron's salary was probably only around 500 a month. It seemed these purchases must have cost her quite a bit. The thought of her heart bleeding at this very moment, I just find it amusing.
Zhang
Zhuang also noticed us waiting by the roadside for a ride. Unlike them, we only had 2 small boxes in our hands. One is a bag given to me by my best friend. The other is a small gold bracelet, a gift I rewarded myself with for my rebirth. As soon as Zhang Zhuang came over, she noticed the gold bracelet in my hand. Only now do you think of buying me a gift to apologize. Too late. Seeing that I remained silent, she continued, I can put in a good word for you in front of my son, but whether he's willing to forgive you or not is his decision. With that, she tried to snatch it from me quick as lightning.
I
slipped it onto my wrist and examined it
carefully. Gold really does complement
one's complexion, I remarked. Zhang Zhuang said, you an unmarried young girl. Easy to attract the wrong kind of
people.
She reached out to try and take it off my wrist, but my friend slapped her hand away. I glanced sideways at Zhang Zhuang and said, you want it, but I'm not anyone to you. Why should I give it to you? Zhang Zhuang's face turned green with anger. Didn't you buy this with my son's money anyway? Where else would a young girl like you get so much money? These young girls nowadays are so vain and selfish. She shouted these words so loudly that many people around turned to look. They all started
pointing fingers at me.
I smiled and retorted, is it so open and shameless to live off others now? Not only does the son do it, but the mother too.
Can't get
what you want.
Can't take advantage. So
you say I'm spending your money and call me selfish. Watching Rong standing by, looking like she's finally seeing someone put you in your place. I pointed at her and said, even if you want to drain your daughter-in-law's wallet, you should pick the right target. The one next to you is your future daughter-in-law. Hearing this, Rong instinctively tried to leave. My best friend quickly added, exactly. You should definitely go to your son for
this.
It's the daughter-in-law's job to buy things for you like me. Just yesterday, I bought my mother-in-law a 40G gold bracelet.
What? Can't they
afford it? I quickly replied, maybe. They really can't afford it. Just then, the bus arrived and my best friend and I hurriedly got on. In the rear view mirror, I saw Zhang Zhuang holding Rong's hand, walking happily toward the mall. My heart felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Ru Song, didn't you desperately want to marry Fin Lee in your past life?
Didn't you say that
Fin Lee's mother was the best mother-in-law in the world? In that case, this lifetime, please fully experience the goodness of your mother-in-law. One day a friend suddenly sent me a picture. I saw it was her song. After work, she was actually selling her homemade Lubu crafts at the subway entrance. It suddenly reminded me of what my best friend recently told me. Recently, Zhang Zhuang has been wearing gold and silver every day. Even her clothes are all name brand. Even the bag used for grocery shopping is a Chanel. She flaunts how capable her son is. Every day in the neighborhood.
Now it
Seems most likely it was all built with Rong's hard-earned money. After all, from what I know of Finley's family, even if Finley wanted to buy such things, Zhang Juang would be too heartbroken to let him spend money on
them.
It seems that money not earned by oneself is indeed spent without a second thought. After Finley moved out of my place, he rented an apartment in the same building as mine. The rent in this building isn't cheap. A one-bedroom apartment costs over 2,000 with Finley's stingy nature. I naturally didn't believe he paid for it himself. Moreover, Raozong was also living there. That day, my cousin came over. After taking him shopping at the mall, we ran into Finley and Raozong in the elevator. As soon as Finley saw my cousin, he glared at me and asked, "Is this your boyfriend?" I completely ignored him.
He then shifted his gaze to
the men's sneakers I was carrying.
brand, name.
I'd bought similar ones for Finley before, costing over 800 yuan a pair. Finley questioned sharply, "You only earn 1,000 a month, yet you buy him 800 yuan. Sneakers for a man. How little do you value yourself?" My cousin has a fiery temper and was about to speak up when I stopped him. Did that hit a nerve?
Is it
Because no one buys you 800 yuan sneakers? I pointed at Raozong beside him and said, "Don't you have a girlfriend?" "My boyfriend has me to buy for him. You can ask your girlfriend to buy for you, too." Finley pouted in frustration, then looked at Raozong with hopeful eyes. "My girlfriend would naturally buy it for me." Ruang instinctively said she had no money. Finley felt like he had been slapped in the face, his expression darkening like a thundercloud. I kindly advised, "Your girlfriend was just joking with you. Don't you remember?
She once said that
If she loved someone, she would give her all without hesitation or regret, never holding back." The elevator dinged.
I
Pulled my cousin out of the elevator. Did another good deed. My mood was so good that my steps felt much lighter.
In
my past life, I was love-struck, believing that loving someone meant showing them my sincerity. So I was actually always aware of Finley's greed and stinginess. Yet I willingly accepted it. Back then, to satisfy Finley's need for face in public, I worked a day job and took on side gigs at night, or just to buy him the status symbols a man craves. Back then, I worked day and night to make money, completely losing myself. In this life, free from Finley, I finally have the leisure time to enjoy myself everywhere. I've always loved traveling. Coincidentally, my cousin came over.
So
I took him on a trip to the snowy mountains. Just as my cousin and I were checking in, Finley and Ruang suddenly
arrived.
Seeing that my cousin and I were staying in the same room, he instantly flew into a rage. He roared, "You've only been dating for a few days, and you're already living together. Can a woman be a little more reserved?" I ignored him and tried to leave, but he blocked the way. My cousin wasn't having it and pushed him aside directly. A good dog doesn't block the
path.
"Thank you." Still quite polite.
Though
This trip was a last-minute decision. It just happened to be the peak travel season. So when we tried to book a hotel, there were basically no rooms left. We checked over 20 nearby hotels before finally finding this one that still had a standard room available. We got our room key and strolled leisurely to our room door. Turning around, I noticed Finley and Raozong were still hauntingly following us. Seeing us open the door, they immediately tried to come inside.
my
Cousin reacted swiftly and slammed the door shut again. "What are you doing?" Finley didn't answer, but instead said, To me, Tessine, we're concerned about
You.
if you casually check into a hotel with a man, what if he has ill intentions? Being a man myself, I know exactly what he wants. My cousin looked at him with an expression that said, "Are you an idiot?" Then he glanced up at me as if asking, "Did you pick this boyfriend from a trash can back then?"
I.
Nodded in agreement. Seeing that neither of us spoke or made any move to open the door again, Rome decided to target my cousin. "Little brother, you look just over 20, fresh out of college, right?
Do.
You know Tessine is already 28 in the adult dating market? She's long been out of the game
She's only targeting you.
because you're young and easy to fool. I'm saying this for your own good.
Don't.
Fall for her tricks." As she spoke, she reached out to pat my cousin on the shoulder. But my cousin recoiled as if avoiding the plague, stumbling back several steps in fright. He shouted in panic, "Auntie, you're not into me, are you?" Then he shouted at me again, "Sis, what kind of monsters and demons do you have around you?" The mental hospital didn't lock its doors properly. How did these two things escape? One has an underdeveloped cerebellum. The other has an incomplete cerebrum. Aren't your guardians worried you'll get kidnapped out here? With that, he pushed them aside, swiped the card to open the door, blocked the entrance, tossed the luggage into the room with one hand and yanked me inside with the other. Ruang and Finn Lee had no time to react at all, leaving them to shout and scream at the door.
I.
Smiled and calmed him down, promising to take him out for something delicious later. Then call the front desk and ask them to clear the trash at the door.
A.
Trip to the snowy mountains brought joy to some and sorrow to others. I felt much calmer because my soul was cleansed by the pristine snow-capped mountains. But in places unknown to me, a storm was raging at that very moment. If it weren't for my best friend telling me, I wouldn't have known.
Turns out that
After Finn Lee and Rue Song were kicked out that day, they searched many hotels, but couldn't find any available rooms. In the end, the two had no choice but to spend the night cramped in their car. But their electric car's battery drained alarmingly fast once they reached the snowy mountains. They slept until the middle of the night when the power went out completely. The two of them were frozen all night on the snowy mountain. The next morning, they were finally discovered by a few tourists and taken to the hospital. When Zhang Juang arrived and saw her son in that state, she instantly became furious. She cursed Rue Song as a jinx, believing that her frugal son would never suggest a trip on his own. It must have been Ruang's idea, so she started hitting and kicking Ruang. At first, Raozong only shielded her head, crying and trying to explain. But seeing that the other person wouldn't listen, and Finley on the side, still pretending to be dead silent, the anger flared up instantly, and I immediately fought back. Finley's dad, seeing his wife being bullied finally, showed his masculinity. He directly pinned Ruang on the bed, letting his wife vent her anger properly. Ruang was also quick and agile. A knee struck Zhuang's head, and in the next instant, with a loud thud, her head hit the bed frame. Zhang Juang instantly slipped to the ground, moaning for a while before staggering back to her feet. Once upright, Zhang Juang grabbed Ruang's hair and dragged her to the floor.
when
She finally let go. A large clump of Ruang's hair had been torn out. Ruang also saw it, screaming while covering her head, crying her heart out.
it
Attracted doctors and nurses.
they all
Started trying to break up the fight. Zhang Juang saw someone speaking up for Rue Song again, and lashed out at Rue Song's face with her claws. By the time the doctor managed to pull them apart again, Rue Song's face had been scratched beyond recognition. After examining it, the doctor said it would definitely leave
scars.
After that, Finley became very disdainful of Rome and proposed a breakup. Finley said, "My mom said our family would never accept a daughter-in-law with facial imperfections." Raozong, of course, refused to accept it, pestering Finley every day. I've even run into him several times downstairs in the neighborhood. Just today, I had barely stepped into the elevator. Finley came rushing over in a panic, as if a ghost were chasing him. He frantically pressed the door close button as soon as he entered, and only relaxed when he saw the door shut. Looking up, he noticed me standing to the side.
Finley sighed and
said, "Tessa, after breaking up with you, I realized how good you were.
That
our song is downright crazy." I asked him back what was wrong. He shook his head and said, "Never mind." I sneered, inwardly thinking he was too embarrassed to say it, seeing that I remained silent.
He thought I still had
lingering feelings for him. He proposed, "Tessa, let's get back together." With that, he fell to his knees before me, pouring out his remorse. This wasn't the ending I wanted. No matter what, he had to stay locked in with Rusong.
I
thought about what Finley valued most. I pushed his hand away and said, earnestly, "All right, Finn. I like you, too." Finley was overjoyed upon hearing
this.
He had already reached out to hug me when he heard me add, "It's about my parents." To be honest with you, after what happened last time, my dad made it clear that no matter who wants to marry me now, they must offer a betrothal gift of 800
yuan.
Upon hearing this, Finley Lee's smile instantly froze on his face. His hand involuntarily withdrew. I couldn't help but find it amusing, but I held back my laughter. I quickly added, "Actually, I know your family can't afford it, so I've never dared to bring it up. You know, our family isn't like our
songs.
Her family has city household registration and is a demolition household. They not only own several properties, but also received demolition compensation. My parents are both genuine farmers who grow fruit trees at home. They don't have much money and are just counting on my sister and me to marry well so they can move in with us for their retirement,"
Finley said
angrily. "Isn't this just selling your daughter?" I didn't argue and continued. "Rome is from City C just like you, and an only child. When her parents pass away, their property will definitely go
to her.
That's not necessarily the case for me."
I spent a long time analyzing
the pros and cons for him, and I knew he must have taken it to heart. I pretended to look hopeful and said, "You just said you like me, so you wouldn't mind my family situation, right? Even though my parents aren't in good health, they're
still the ones who raised me. You'll
definitely help me take care of my
parents with me, right?"
You don't know. Every time I go home now and see my parents braving the scorching sun to work in the fields, I feel how hard they're working. It would be great if I could find a husband to share the burden. Suddenly, a ding sound rang out. It's my floor. I didn't pay attention and was just about to continue speaking. Then I was directly pushed out of the elevator by Finley standing at the
doorway.
I looked at the elevator doors and couldn't stop laughing. Everything I told Finley was true, but what I didn't tell him was that Rome's father is a deadbeat. Finley wants to inherit Rome's family fortune, but what he might inherit first is Ruang's father's debts. 1 month later, I received news that Rome and Finley had gotten married. After the wedding, they still lived in the apartment above mine. At first, the two of them got along quite well, but within a few days, Rusong's parents showed up, saying they wanted to live with them. Upon asking, they found out that Rong's father was a deadbeat who had racked up a massive debt of 3 million yuan. Rong's family home had long been auctioned off, leaving the elderly
couple homeless.
I had no choice but to turn to my only daughter for support. When Finley found out he wanted a divorce but Raozong refused,
She said
she would rather die than be apart from him. Finley had no other option but to try every possible way to provoke her. At first, he also brought his parents over. Originally, he intended for them to help drive away Raozong's family.
but
The household became even livelier.
they
Fought every day. No matter what, Raozong's family just wouldn't leave. Finley saw that his parents couldn't
handle it.
He started provoking Raozong by bringing in his third sister just like in their past life. Upon learning this, Ruang took all the evidence and caused a huge scene at the company. Finley and Ruang both lost their jobs and had no income. They had no choice but to move out of my neighborhood.
On
The day they left, it was still chaotic. One saw Ruang again. My best friend invited me to her place for some crayfish, and after the meal, we went out for a walk. Then we saw Raozong sitting by the pool in the neighborhood, looking dejected and constantly wiping his face. My best friend and I exchanged glances. The next second, we were sitting right behind Raozong. I had just sat down when I started pouring out my grievances to my best friend. I said, recently, Fin Li has been acting strangely, for some reason coming to see me even though he's married. My best friend pretended to be very surprised and asked me what was wrong. I said he keeps texting me out of the blue, saying things like his marriage is unhappy and that his wife is a crazy woman. He even asked me if I'd still be willing to be with him if he got divorced. My best friend, we're both moral people. That's absolutely not okay. Me, of course, and we all know how wonderful Rong is. Perfect both in public and at home.
my
Best friend quickly agreed.
Wrong.
Really deserves better. I continued.
You
Wouldn't believe how outrageous he was. He said as long as I agreed, he could help me remove the obstacles. Bestie, how to solve it?
me
Who knows?
you
Don't know. I suspect Fin Li married Raozong for her family's house. Bestie,
me
Finley even went to ask several friends about Ron's family fortune.
best
Friend. Oh my God. Isn't that trying to take advantage of someone without heirs? After chatting for a while, my best friend and I leisurely stood up, planning to take a walk around the neighborhood. As soon as we left, a figure emerged from the shadows. My best friend and I watched from a distance. Best friend, I think it's time for our family to sell this house. I heard news about Raozong again from a friend. The friend said, not long ago, Raozong became pregnant. Soon after, Finley lost his new job. Their family conflicts escalated. He began to give up on himself, leaving early and returning late every day, sometimes even taking care of needs directly outside, coming back and flaunting it arrogantly. One evening, he wanted to go out and find someone again, but having no money, he asked Raozong for it. Turns out Rome was ruthless too. Taking a pair of scissors from home, she directly cut off Finley's
thing.
Then they trapped Finley at home. When Zhang Juan and her husband returned from their hometown, they saw Finley on the verge of death. Zhang Juan was terrified. She grabbed a knife and wanted to kill Ruang. The knife had just plunged into the stomach, only to be met with a vase smashed on the head by Ruang's father. Seeing this, Finley's father also rushed forward to fight Ruang's father desperately. But Ruang's father was tall and strong. How could he possibly be a match For him, the entire family ended up losing their lives. Rusong's father also ended up in prison. Raozong's mother, who was left behind, went mad after that incident. After listening to her friend's exaggerated account, I put down what I was doing, walked over to my best friend's side. Without saying a word, she seemed to understand everything, reached out and hugged me. It's all in the past.